What up, cucks? It's, or should I start with, what up, motherfuckers? I don't know. I alternate between the two cucks. So there you go. It's Wednesday night, which means it's our favorite night of the week. You know, the whatever, 4-month or 3.5-month anniversary of the Hater Channel, motherfuckers, whatever it is. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I started, I think, on a Wednesday. My first video, I think, was, what's it called? An AEW review. So there you have it, motherfuckers. Every Wednesday is an anniversary. Cucks! Let's get, before we get started, some people wanted a shout out up in this bitch. Specifically, the person that I can think of right now is my boy, Steven Trudeau. I almost said Justin Trudeau. But I said Steven Trudeau because, you know, that's his name, motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? That's a better name than Justin Trudeau. Fuck Justin Trudeau. How do you like them apples? Anyways, let me check my notifications here up in this bitch. I'm going to miss a lot of things here because I've been very active in commenting on other things. Like all these people, I'm talking shit and all these other things about saying how Matt Hardy going to Dark Order sucks. And some guy apparently watched my videos. His name is Andrew Cornish. And he says, don't watch it then. What? Whatever, man. I'm going to watch it, Andrew Cornish. But I hope you subscribe today, motherfucker. And then we can find middle ground. Anyways, let's talk about AEW Dynamite for a bit, all right? That's why we're here, motherfuckers. All right. First of all, first things first, right? Jon Moxley comes out wearing an eye patch, right? Now, this would be totally fine, but he says, you know, that when he was attacked by a spike, he knew the games were over. Pause. All right. Number one, they didn't spike him in the eye, as we clearly saw. He hit him in the forehead. So this eye patch thing is overkill, and it doesn't work because it wasn't done well enough. All right? Two, what the hell does that even mean? When he got hit with a spike in the eye, he knew the games were over? Gee, how about when he stole a car from Jericho and beat him up by breaking bottles over his head and the head of, like, Santana or whatever the fuck else he attacked, right? You know, it's very convenient for Dean Ambrose to take this, like, face, you know, angle for himself to be like, oh, well, you know, like, it's the fun and games are over when they attacked me. Well, how about the fun and games are over when you attack them, cuck? You know what I mean? That makes absolutely no sense. Then he cuts this promo that I'm sure is going to be overrated by people like Dave Meltzer. He'll be like, oh, best promo of the year or some shit like that, right? It wasn't even like 1/10 as good as Edge's promo on Monday Night Raw, but that's neither here nor there, right? In the promo, he basically just says that, like, you know, when he sees himself in the mirror, he's proud of what he sees or some horse shit like that, right? This was preceded by him saying, I'm not a perfect guy, I've made a lot of mistakes, right? And then it got me thinking, right? When he debuted, when Jon Moxley debuted in AEW at, like, whatever, Double or Nothing, right? He came and he attacked Kenny Omega and Jericho for no reason, you know? No reason. Like, they had their match and he just attacked them, right? So, hold on a second. Why is he a face? You know what I mean? He just attacked these guys for no reason. He even attacked Kenny Omega and went after him for like months, right? Kenny Omega's a face. He went after him, tried to hurt him, tried to put him out, motherfucks. And all of a sudden now, he's a face. And I'm supposed to, like, you know, empathize with him and be like, well, you know, he's a guy that sometimes does the wrong thing, but he's a man of honor. That was like the theme of, like, his promo and the night, that he's a man of honor. What honor, man? What honor? Dean Ambrose is all about doing the wrong thing all the time and having no honor. That's like his entire shtick. You know what I mean? So I don't know how they just, like, switched that and took the little bit of character he had left from his WWE days, this idea that he's a lunatic, that he doesn't care about things like honor. He's driven primarily by the fact that he's insane, right? Now he's just like another guy. Now he's just another face. Then Inner Circle come out, right? All 5 of them. And then Santana and Ortiz bring out these goons from, like, the Bronx, right? Now, these guys, I didn't get a good look at all of them, but there was one guy who was wearing a jersey that was the Puerto Rican flag. This guy was, like, his arms were the size, like his upper arm, like his bicep area, were the size of, like, my wrists. This guy looked like a cuck. You know what I mean? Like, this guy would never be a thug anywhere. But anyways, maybe he has a gun, I guess. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, they found these jobbers. And then Dean Ambrose, the one thing I did like, only because the exact opposite thing happened on Monday, is that unlike Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe, Dean Ambrose was like, all right, I'll fight all of you. Fuck it. You know what I mean? Whereas, like, Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens were supposed to be like, they have very similar characters to Dean Ambrose in that they're like these fighter types, like these guys that like to fight, right? But Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens, they spent like 25 years talking about where AOP is, you know, where's AOP now, you know? And like, it kind of, and they've been doing this for weeks. Like Kevin Owens is like, you guys come out and fight me, preferably one-on-one. You know what I mean? Like I understand that's more realistic, but at the same time, it's like, that's not what wrestling is. What wrestling is the guy fights 10 people. Now here's where he got stupid, right? He successfully fended off all 10 of these people. You know, now security was involved, but he like DDT'd 2 of them, and they got no offense on him whatsoever. You know, that makes no sense. Like they brought these goons to do what? Do nothing? You know, they brought him all the way from New York. Come on, man, that makes no sense. You know. Beyond that, there was some like pandering to Ohio. I don't think I've ever been to Ohio, but I hear it's good, man. I like the idea of Ohio. I like OVE. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, that wasn't that compelling of an opener. It was just very generic and very stupid, in my opinion. Next up, we have a little like a recap of what's going to happen. Not a recap, but a preview, I should say. A preview of what's going to happen the rest of the night. And JR announces 2 or 3 matches. The last one is coming up next. It's Young Cucks versus Butch and Bottom, right? And JR has the audacity. He has the nerve to say that this could be a main event anywhere. Are you fucking losing your mind? You must be losing your mind, JR. Because, first of all, 3 weeks ago, JR didn't know who Butcher and Blade was. All right, so let's look into this for a little bit, right? JR did not know who Butcher and Blade were at all, right? He was like, who are these guys, right? And so the only thing that makes sense now is that Butcher and Blade have convinced JR that they are, in fact, good enough, right? But then the next question becomes, how do they convince him of that? By losing consistently every week? By not doing anything impressive the entire time they've been in AEW? So how can JR even just like say those words? It's such horseshit. I mean, obviously I understand he's going to lie and he's going to just throw out like hyperbole, but let's be real, man. Butcher and Bottom are a jobber team, you know? And then either before commercial or after commercial, they showed this little vignette. I think it was before. They showed Wardlow and MJF, right, going to a butcher shop, right? And in there, they have Allie dressed like a whore. She's in a butcher shop, but she's dressed like a fucking whore, right? And MJF hands her an envelope that says Young Bucks on it and is filled with a lot of money. It must have been all ones because that was a fat stack. And if that was like hundreds, that would have been like $50,000, you know? A lot of people, let me just get through that for a second, right? A lot of people don't know what $10,000, for example, looks like, right? It looks like nothing. It's very, like, if it's hundreds, that's not that much, man. You know what I'm saying? It's not that much hundreds. You know, like, you look at it, it's $100 bills, right? It's like, go to the bank, get $100 in ones, and hold that. That's what 10 grand looks like. And 5 of those would make what was in this envelope. So you must have paid him in ones, right? If you paid him 50 grand, you should have paid him about 20 bucks. So anyways, Blade, in this vignette, Blade comes out dressed like a butcher, right? Which I don't understand. Like, are they both butchers? You know, I thought it was Butcher and the Blade. Yeah. But anyways, Blade comes out dressed as a butcher. They accept the envelope. The camera like zooms down, and then it goes up again. And now they're in their like Butcher and Blade gear, right? Commercial. They come out to the ring, right? It's Butcher and Blade versus Young Cucks. I mean, Butcher and Bottom versus Young Cucks. Now, here's the problem with this, right? The one thing that I will say, the one thing I did like is that Butcher and Blade didn't go for any false finishes, right? Because they were pretty much hired to just destroy the Young Cucks. So it would make no sense, and JR kind of pointed this out. You know, I'm sure he was worried when he said that because he's like, what if they go for a cover? You know, like one of those quick covers, right? But they were there to just hurt the Young Cucks. Now, this was the most ineffective display of like a mercenary ever, right? Like they didn't do anything. There was a stretch in the match where Blade missed like 6 clotheslines in a row. The guy would just duck under them. Like at a certain point, you're like, man, this guy's retarded. He just keeps hitting and missing. You know, it's just like aim lower next time. The guy's gonna duck. Just aim lower. Why do they do that? Like, you know, like once in a while when they go for a clothesline, aim a little lower. You know, I understand kayfabe, but you understand what I'm saying, right? Then the Young Bucks win clean. They hit the Meltzer driver on Blade. It was just ridiculous, like how weak Butcher and Blade looked, right? And then after the match, Butch and Bottom attacked them, but they were quickly neutralized by Kenny Omega, who came in and beat both of their asses. Adam Page came in, did a buckshot lariat, and left, right? So, like, I mean, Butch and Bottom are just like a jobber tag team. Like, they're so bad that they're a jobber tag team in AEW. You know, they're like the Brandon Cutler of tag teams. So anyways, I did not enjoy that at all. What's it called? After that, we had Cody Rhodes versus Kip Sabian. Now this match, because it's a Cody Rhodes match, it had all the things that nobody wants to see. You know what I'm saying? It had the long ass entrance, right? It had overexposure of Arn Anderson. During the match, there was a point when like Arn Anderson just like gets in the ring because like some shoe fiasco. I was skipping around to be honest, but like he has like the shoe of Penelope Ford or something, or someone's shoe, right? And he gets in the ring. The referee's like, "Yo, get out of the ring, Arn!" Like totally reasonable, you know. And then Arn Anderson just chest bumps him, and the referee's like, "All right, you're out of here," you know. And that was that. Arn Anderson leaves. The match still continues for some reason, you know? Like, I figured, like, Arn Anderson leaves, Cody Rhodes is going to hit the crossroads and win. No, it keeps going on for another 30,000 years, you know? At a certain point, Penelope Ford and what's-his-face, Kip Sabian are about to kiss on the outside, and they meet each other, like, halfway, basically, and Joey Janela's in the crowd, and he just puts his face in between them, so they both kiss him on the cheek. This was really stupid, because, like, it's so fake and so contrived, right, that this could never happen in real life. Like, how would that even happen? He would have to position himself exactly in the place that he was, right? And they'd have to go for a kiss, right? Now, because he didn't do anything else. If that happened, and then he went and attacked Kip Sabian, all right, fine, it doesn't matter. You know, like it can be attributed to coincidence. But that's not what happened. He just took the kiss and ran away. And this didn't really serve any narrative. Like, I figured surely after this happens, Cody Rhodes is going to hit the crossroads and win. No. They get back in the ring, and Kip Sabian counters one of his moves. Eventually, Cody Rhodes hits the Cody cutter, right, which is like the springboard cutter, and then hits 3 crossroads and pins the jobber, right? And then afterwards, they went to commercial, but afterwards, Cody Rhodes went into the fans and started celebrating with them and signing autographs and kissing babies. Now, this part is kind of neat because, like, if you're a fan of AEW and you go there, you're like, oh, I get to meet Cody, maybe. You know what I mean? So I guess that was kind of neat. But just the overexposure of Cody Rhodes in terms of, like, total time spent on him versus everybody else is ridiculous. 1. 2, Arn Anderson, this is not working out, man. This Arn Anderson as the manager is not working out. This idiot just comes in there, just ruins things. You know, he comes off as this like fucking like spot hog type of dude, right? I didn't enjoy this at all. I honestly think this was one of the worst matches I've ever seen in my life. And like the match itself was not horrible. You know what I mean? Like Kip Sabian is like athletic. Cody Rhodes is decent enough. Like I'm not like. I mean, Cody Rhodes is the worst wrestler of all time, but I mean, he's in the ring, he's decent enough. But everything else surrounding that, everything else that didn't involve like the few wrestling moves they did that were fun, everything else was just a 0 out of 10. The Arn Anderson like involvement, 0 out of 10. At a certain point, Cody Rhodes accidentally attacked Penelope Ford. Then he picked her up, right? He picked her up. What is he going to do? Take her to the back? He picked her up. He was going to put her like on the apron. I don't know why, right? She's hurt. What does it matter? She's on the ground or on the apron. You know, doesn't AEW have a few people on their medical staff? Is Cody Rhodes the EMT too? You know what I mean? Does he want the spot and the credit of the EMT as well? How much is enough for this guy, right? So he picks up Penelope Ford inexplicably. I don't know. I'm thinking to myself, where's he going to put her, right? Obviously, I knew that Kip Sabian was going to attack him and it was all going to be a ruse, right? Because Cody's also an idiot who didn't see this coming. But like, assuming that he is this idiot, right? He is this knight in shining armor, right? What was he going to do with her? Was he going to quit the match and take her to the back? Right? Don't they have EMTs for that? Was he going to put her on the apron? Why would he put her on the apron? So she could fall off? This was really dumb, man. And then the Joey Janela thing was incredibly stupid. Kip Sabian does not work as a wrestler, man. For a while, I joked about how Kip Sabian and Sammy Guevara can be interchangeable. And now my point has been made even more clearly, right? The Spanish God and super bad Kip Sabian, right? Like, the names sound different, but they're the same thing. It's these two, like, overly, like, confident dudes, right? With, like, flippy movesets. And nothing to distinguish the two of them. Nothing at all, you know? Like, I mean, I guess one is with, the Inner Circle. The other is with Penelope Ford. But if you switch that up, would anyone care? Right? This is what a gimmick is, motherfuckers. Right? A gimmick is, I'm going to take up, actually, I'll talk about this at the end of the video. Talk about what gimmicks are. It's very important. So stay tuned, cucks. And if you haven't, subscribe today. Anyways, I stopped taking notes after this because I was so bored out of my mind, right? But I think the next thing that happened was, or maybe it was before this, whatever. Britt Baker at some point came out and did an interview with Tony Schiavone. Right before the interview, they cut to a fan who had a tattoo on his arm that said Tony Schiavone. Now, I don't know what to say about that. I hope that's from back in the day for some weird reason. Because if he got that, now that's just weird. But anyways, she pretty much comes out and makes fun of JR too. She's like, JR, like, you cut me off last week, you know, like, and she actually makes some good points. The main point that stuck was that she was like, JR, just be the JR that I grew up on. Don't be this like barbecue salesman who doesn't even know the names of the women in our division, right? And I was like, damn, like right on the money. You know what I mean? JR doesn't give a fuck. It's true. You know, he doesn't give a shit about the women's division. He doesn't give a shit about the men's division. He doesn't give a shit about AEW. You know, but at least try, right? And she made fun of Tony Schiavone some more, saying that he has like gingivitis or whatever, right? I mean, like I won't sit here and say it was a great promo, but it was a good promo. Like it establishes her as this like I'm better than you character, which I know we've seen it a million times. Like everyone in AEW is either crazy or has an I'm better than you character, you know. But like for some reason for her it works, right? She has this weird appearance. Like she's not ugly, but she's not attractive. I don't know how to explain it, man. Like I see her and I'm like, yo, I don't like this girl's not hot. Like she's like weird. She's got like a weird like upper body. Like her shoulders are very strange. Her nose is one of those noses that looks like it always has boogers in it. You know what I mean? She's not an appealing woman, but but she's not ugly either. You know what I mean? So like she hits that weird like almost uncanny valley, and it fits with like her character. I feel like, you know, like she's a dentist, so it makes sense that she'll tell people that they have bad breath or that, you know, they need to like brush their teeth and things like that, right? It's just basically like taking the dentist character and making it annoying, which I like because they keep saying how she's a dentist, but she doesn't do any dentisty things. And now she finally is, you know? Dentists are also elitist a lot of the time because they're well paid, motherfuckers. So there you go, you know? Like, I actually dug this, you know? Like here's the thing, right? I'd rather see this. I'd rather see Britt Baker come out and say what she said today than see her have a match with Britt Statlander. You know what I mean? I would much rather have her talk for 5 minutes than have her take up 20 minutes of my life, right? Or probably 5 minutes of my life as I'm fast forwarding that shit on my DVR. But still, this was actually something I'm like, all right, I'll listen to her talk for 5 minutes, you know? Like, that's what wrestling is. It's about storylines and gimmicks. But like I said, just a little bit more, and then we'll get to that. I think the next thing was Nyla Rose, or maybe this happened before, I don't even know. But Nyla Rose versus Big Swole. Now, this was ridiculous. It was exactly what you'd expect. Big Swole was treated like a jobber because nobody knows who the fuck she is. Nyla Rose beat her after a Batista bomb, basically. And they should just call her Batista. That'd be cool. Right? So she did a Batista bomb, pinned her 1, 2, 3. Now, here's the thing about Nyla Rose. You know, I've been saying quite for a while now in my videos that I actually do not think that it's a big deal that Nyla Rose competes with the women, even though she is a transgendered woman, right? I don't think that's a big deal because, you know, wrestling is fake. She can control her strength. It's not like, if it was UFC, of course, it'd be a different story. She'd be breaking faces, you know? So I don't care about that. But what I do care about is this, like it's almost an insult. Like, I was thinking about it during the match. I'm like, there's got to be a few people in the audience, let's say 20%, right, that don't know that this is a transgendered person, right? And that's fine. It's really none of their business, you know? Like, I'm conflicted with this as I speak about it. It's none of their business to know. But it's like, it's part of who she is, you know? And I don't want to sound like a SJW leftist, right? But it's like, you can't really, like, marginalize that element of her, right, in order to show respect, because I find it a little disrespectful. Like, I don't know any transgenders, but if I did, I feel like they would be disrespected by, like, you know, the fact that she's not lauded as, like, the first transgender person, basically, to be a wrestler ever, as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? Like, the first one that's, like, ever been on TV, right? So, like, and I understand they don't want to keep talking about it, right, for obvious reasons. But it's like, just to treat her as as a biological woman, as a normal woman, whatever the fuck you want to call it, right? There's something like just inherently wrong with that. You know what I mean? It's just like, dude, this is not a woman. You know, like she can wrestle with a woman. I'm totally cool with that. But it's like, what the fuck? Like, this is not a woman. You know what I mean? Like someone should mention that once in a while so people know what the fuck's going on, right? I should at least know why she's like so much bigger and so much stronger than women, right? Primarily because she used to be a dude, you know? But then again, I actually like. I mean, I won't sit here and say I like Nyla Rose because there's nothing to like. Like, but she reminds me of Awesome Kong. But unfortunately for her, they already have Awesome Kong in this company, so I like Awesome Kong more. You know what I'm saying? At a certain point, there was a Dark Order vignette, right? The Dark Order vignette happened like after an SCU match. Wow, I can't believe I even remember this kind of shit. I mean, I know it happened like less than an hour ago, but you know, I didn't take it down in my notes. SCU beat Hybrid 2. You would expect this to happen because they just lost the titles, so they have to reestablish themselves at the expense of a jobber tag team like Hybrid 2. But it'd be nice also to see like Hybrid 2, let's say, just kind of, you know, be this team that's not like a total cuck team, you know, like kind of put them over a little bit, you know, just like they did with like Dash and Dawson and NXT when they were jobbers for a long time, and then one day they just started winning, and they're like, all of a sudden they're like tag champs, you know. So it'd be nice to see that, but I understand, you know, there are different priorities. So here we are, motherfuckers. SCU they win the match. It was Scorpio Sky and Kazarian. Kazarian hadn't shaved his head, so he looked like really old. And then after that, Dark Order came out and basically said, Daniel's like, we're gonna whoop your ass. We're here to hurt you. I don't remember why. Like wouldn't they want to recruit him? Like I guess the Exalted One, hopefully it's not Matt Hardy, the Exalted One told them to do this, right? Who gives a shit, right? So I don't like Dark Order. I mean, I like them more than Nightmare Collective, which was nowhere to be seen, by the way. But I don't really like them, and I'm going to be honest. The reason I don't like them is because Evil Uno is called Evil Uno, and he's a fat ass, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense. He's just, obese. He wrestles with no shirt on, and it's dude, this guy can never lead anything. Look at him, So, and he doesn't have the charisma, because he wears a fucking mask, to, explain it away. Because, of course, there are fat people with charisma. It goes without saying, you know what I mean? Patrice O'Neal, motherfuckers. But anyways, so there you go. I mean, I guess at least they had him on TV. So it was what it was, right? The last match of the night was a 6-man tag, Inner Circle, Jericho's and Out and Proud versus Darby Allin and Private Party. Whatever, man. This match serves no purpose and has no story, right? Until the end, where it turned out that it did. Basically, what happened is the match goes on. Eventually, Darby Allin does a coffin drop to Jack Swagger, taking him out, and then Mark Quinn does a moonsault type move, from the ring to the outside of the ring, right, and takes out Out and Proud. So at this point, you already know what's going to happen, right? It's Jericho versus Isaiah Cassidy. So obviously Jericho's going to win. I guess they could have pulled another Scorpio Sky beats Jericho moment, but they didn't. Jericho hit the Judas effect. To his credit, Isaiah Cassidy sold it perfectly. He fell on the ground, he started shaking his hand a little bit, but after he was pinned, he stopped shaking his hand, right? So it was this momentary, blunt force trauma almost, right? So Jericho wins. After the match, the Inner Circle comes back to attack the people in the ring. Sammy Guevara takes charge and beats Darby Allin with a skateboard, puts the skateboard under Darby Allin's chin, and does slams the skateboard down on the ring while Darby's chin is on there, right? Kind of like the Undertaker used to do in 2002, 2003, right? When he turned heel, but when he did it with a chair, right? Because, Undertaker's a skateboard, motherfuckers. Anyways, so, that ended, and then in the end, Dean Ambrose came to save them, which was also stupid because JR kept saying, he's a man of honor. What the fuck? Why is he? If he was a man of honor, number one, he would have done 99% of the things that he's done in TNA thus far. In AEW thus far. And two, why didn't he come before the skateboard spot? It is what it is. But it wasn't good, motherfuckers. I just got to tell you, it wasn't good. Now, before we go, right, I'm going to give this show a nice 3 out of 10, 3 out of 10, right? There was a few moments that put it up to a 3 from 0. Just the existence of Jericho, Jericho mocking the crowd a little bit. The Britt Baker thing was all right. That's pretty much it, though. I didn't really enjoy anything else, I still have the same lingering questions. Where's Sonny Kiss, who they kept advertising? I remember my friend, pretending to know who Sonny Kiss was back before AEW started. He was like, man, AEW signed Sonny Kiss. And I'm like, who the fuck is Sonny Kiss? And he showed me. I'm like, this is fucking gay. This isn't wrestling. This is just, there for the gay demographic, which, good for them. If they like that, that's good for them, but it doesn't appeal to me, And then but then all of a sudden I find myself thinking yo, man, I actually would prefer to see Sonny Kiss over 99% of these jobbers because if I had to choose Sonny Kiss or Kip Sabian, at least Sonny Kiss is going to try to be entertaining. Kip Sabian is just an asshole. He sucks. And I don't mean this his gimmick is that of an asshole, which it also is true, but he's just not entertaining, So there you have it, cucks. People like Sonny Kiss, Jamie Havoc, who was supposed to be this big deal. He was in a number 1 contenders match. Fucking Sean Spears, Ty Dillinger, as we all know him. That guy hasn't been seen in months. You know what I mean? That guy might as well just be just fire him, So there you have it. There wasn't anything special about this episode. And except for the fact that they said that pay-per-view is on February 29th. So in a month from now. Let's look forward to that. Yay, motherfuckers. Now, let's get to the real topic at hand here. Storylines and gimmicks. All right. First of all, in order to have a good storyline and therefore have good stables and good angles, you need gimmicks, right? Because, without gimmicks, or at least personalities, nothing makes sense. Here's an example, motherfuckers. Edge came back on Monday, right? Randy Orton, his long-term rival and also former tag team partner, right, came back to welcome him. Edge eliminated him from the Royal Rumble, which might be why Randy Orton is upset. I hope not. I hope it's a little deeper than that, but whatever, right? And then he betrays his partner, right? Not only that, but Edge being a legendary wrestler and a Hall of Famer, Edge also has been out of action for like 8 years because of his fucked up neck. And Orton goes after his neck. So here's an example of something that works and makes sense without necessarily gimmicks, we'll call them, but with personalities, right? Randy Orton is who he is. Edge has a fucked up neck and is coming back. And Randy Orton steals his spotlight, right? Puts him down on his return. Now, this only works with these characters. Imagine now, if instead of Randy Orton, it was, I don't know, motherfucks, Chad Gable. Let's say Chad Gable came and did the same thing. No one would care. Not only because Chad Gable is an irrelevant, right? Sorry, Shorty G. Not only because Shorty G is an irrelevant, but because there's no history there, there's no reason to do this, right? It would just be a heel move. It wouldn't feel as dramatic, right? Because it's like they weren't tag team partners. They're not friends, right? They haven't like Randy Orton cut a little promo saying that Edge pulled him out of the slumps many times. You know, Chad Gable can't do that, right? Now, but imagine even worse. Imagine if instead of Edge, it was, I don't know, Bull Buchanan, motherfuckers. Let's say Bull Buchanan, if anyone remembers him, right? Let's say it was Bull Buchanan. Now imagine if it was Bull Buchanan and Shorty G. No one, like literally not one person on earth would give a rat's ass about this, right? You have to have personalities and gimmicks, right? Now let's take this same philosophy and apply it to AEW. I said earlier in this video, and I've said many times, that Kip Sabian and Sammy Guevara are the same exact fucking thing, right? Now, imagine when the Inner Circle started, instead of Sammy Guevara, they just got, I don't know, Kip Sabian to be there, right? And Sammy Guevara was the new boyfriend of Penelope Ford. Would anything change? Nothing would change. Everything could happen the exact same way, right? Similarly, you could take out, you could take Jack Swagger and put Wardlow in there, and put Jack Swagger with MJF, and nothing would change. Do you want to know why, cucks? Because they're the same exact character. They have the same exact gimmick. Big guy who protects better wrestler than him, but inferior in shape and size, right? That's their gimmick. They're Diesel, right? Except Diesel has like charisma and more personality, but that's neither here nor there. Now, let's take, for example, scenarios, right? Like using Jack Swagger as an example, actually. That's the example that comes to mind. When Rusev was out there just beating up people, right? He beat up Big Show, and there was really no reason to do that. That was just a match. Then, or perhaps before that, he fought and beat Mark Henry, right? The focus of the story shifted not from Mark Henry and the Hall of Pain, but from how Mark Henry represented the United States in the Olympics as an alternate or whatever the fuck, or maybe not as an alternate, right? But he represented his country. So, which means that Mark Henry in the story and probably in real life is a proud American. And now he's fighting this Soviet type, right, who's billed as a Russian, and he's going to lose, right? Mark Henry was the Apollo Creed of this story, right? And then Jack Swagger came out, the real American, right, with Zeb Coulter, and it was amazing. People lost their minds. Of course, they made the mistake of having Rusev win because the real American hero, the real Captain America, John Cena, had to steal Swagger's spotlight. But that was a great moment for Swagger, and it felt like a big deal because the characters matched, right? If it hadn't been Swagger, it had been Kane instead, or it had been Big Show like it was, who cares, right? It's just like two big guys fighting. No one really cares. But if it's a Russian, government agent, basically, as he was presented, almost like Lana was presented as like being friends with Putin, right? A Russian, like spy almost, right? Versus an American patriot who just turned face by virtue of being an American, right? It made sense. And I will use another example that I've used. I've beaten it to death, right? Jericho and Christian in their little feud where Trish Stratus was involved, right? That was perfect, right? Trish Stratus was seen as this like babyface at the time, right? Jericho and Christian were both jerks, but Jericho was reforming. This is after many years of them being a tag team and establishing the fact that these two guys are best friends, right? And Christian always being the sneaker of the two, right? And then Trish Stratus betrays Jericho, right? Which is consistent with the fact that Trish Stratus has been a heel in the past. Do you understand what I'm saying? Things like that, where gimmicks and ideas and personalities in this case make sense. An example of a gimmick is another thing that I've beaten to death. One of my favorite matches of all time, Val Venus versus Goldust at some WrestleMania, right? Val Venus banged Goldust's wife, right? Goldust is this weird guy. So him getting his wife banged is something that makes you think, oh, like I kind of feel bad for this. He's already weird, right? He thought he found someone that loved him and accepted him for his weirdness. Turns out she preferred big dick Val Venus, motherfuckers. So Val Venus who was a porn star, fucked his wife, right? And it was like filmed or something, right? So Goldust saw it. The match ended with Goldust kicking Val in the balls. Now, do you understand what that means? That means that he hit him, number one, in his moneymaker, because Val Venus is a porn star, right? And number two, he hit him in the same dick that fucked his wife. It's these little nuances, right? This would not work if Val Venus wasn't a porn star. If instead of Val Venus it was Steve Blackman, no one would care, right? That's the point of a gimmick. The point of a gimmick isn't just, oh, isn't this great? Like, oh, isn't Velveteen Dream so eccentric and weird? No, who cares if he's eccentric and weird? It's only relevant if that element of his gimmick and his character is used to develop storylines from it. Do you understand what I'm saying, motherfucks? That's the point. Triple H being the cerebral assassin is not important or relevant until you find out that he was the one that was behind Stone Cold, getting run over by Rikishi, and he was the one behind all of it, right? That's what made him cerebral, right? It fit the narrative, right? Triple H was like, oh, it wasn't me, but it was him all along, motherfucks. The ultimate heel move, right? That's the idea. Same thing. Stone Cold being like a rough redneck type who doesn't like authority would not work unless he's out there beating the boss, right? Unless the gimmick and character is implemented correctly. That's the whole point, right? But in this day and age, we're excited by more the wrestling element of it. So when they have a match, a Survivor Series or whatever it was, The Shield versus the Wyatt family, it's supposed to be this big deal because they're both people that win, because we don't have anyone that wins anymore, right? And they're both three-man groups. But the reality is what it is. That match made no sense. What was the point of that? Why are they even feuding? Bray Wyatt and those other idiots are a cult, and the Shield are like a SWAT team, basically, right? So that doesn't make any sense, man. It would make sense if there was a group of terrorists and the Shield fought them. All right, fine. It would have been stupid, but all right, I get it, So that's what I'm saying, right? Things have to make sense. Muhammad Hassan and Daivari fighting Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan makes sense because Daivari is this heel Arab American who doesn't like America, and Hulk Hogan is literally Captain America. You understand what I'm saying? So that makes sense. I don't think I have to speak about this any further for people to understand. But AEW does none of this. None of it. Right? The only semblance of this is fucking, what's it called? Dark Order, right? Who actually operate as a cult and wrestle like one, in some ways, right? Their in-ring has nothing to do with how they wrestle, right? They should have more of a Bray Wyatt, the Fiend style of wrestling. You know what I mean? Or Judas Messias, or at least Abyss, where they're they wrestle correctly. Let me tell you a group who I've never even seen. I haven't seen TNA in so long, but I watched some highlights of OVE, right? Which I think, based on the little I've seen, I think they're the best group in wrestling right now because it fits. It makes sense. They have Sawyer Fulton, who was already insanity, so that kind of gives him that he's crazy type thing. Now he's Madman Fulton, right? They have the Chris brothers and Sammy Callahan, right? And these guys are just these roughneck, the kind of people you find in a raw and gritty city. And Ohio has a lot of those motherfuckers, right? Someone you find like that, someone that will beat you down and take your wallet and laugh, right? That's their gimmick and it works. They're sadists. They're savages, right? It works. Similarly, compare, for example, Dark Order, right, with Decay from also from TNA. I remember Decay. Decay was cool, and Decay was cool because all of a sudden, Crazy Steve, who was a loving clown, turned into an evil clown. Abyss now became a new version of Abyss, and they were out there putting thumbtacks in people's mouths, right? So they didn't just look the part, right? They weren't the Brood, Edge Christian, and Gangrel, who were just weird and dressed like that, right? They wrestled in a way where where it's all right, I would not want to fuck with these guys because one is dressed like a clown and he'll put thumbtacks in my mouth and DDT me. You understand what I'm saying? That's there has to be consistency, right? The Dark Order, Evil Uno, who's a big fat ass, his finishing move is some STO. You know what I mean? Some gory special STO. It should be a power bomb. That's what it's these little nuances, man. Like when you look at NXT and you see all these jobbers that wrestle the same way, then you see someone like Walter. Now, I like Walter. I started to appreciate him after like NXT, Fight for Your Right, whatever the fuck it was, like the one where they fought the NXT UK jabrones, right? I liked him because I saw that he wrestles in like this almost like a sloppy way, right? He's a sloppy looking dude and he wrestles in a sloppy way. Like he just like does chops and does clotheslines and does these like shitty looking power bombs, but they look like they hurt, you know? And because he's a big guy, it makes sense that he can have a power bomb finish, right? You don't need Walter to do a swanton. You know, that's for people like Kevin Owens who aren't strong enough to do any power moves. And they're also fat, so they have to do swantons, right? That's what I'm saying, motherfuckers. AEW lacks these things. They lack this kind of direction. And in order to continue and have interesting characters, like for example, what's it called? Adam Page, right? If they're going where I think they're going, that he's going to be this like out of control alcoholic type, right? It would only make sense to continue it like they're actually doing it. They're actually doing a pretty good job, right? Of having him do like more and more renegade, like lone wolf, I'm a drunk type things, right? Until it all ends with like some stupid ass intervention or something, right? I'm sure they already have it planned out. But the idea that he becomes more unhinged, more alcoholic, right? I know a lot about alcoholics, motherfuckers, right? He becomes more and more like that in order to push forward, cucks, the narrative, right? That he is someone that has a problem, right? That's what needs to happen with that and with other angles in AEW, right? The SCU, I don't understand what they are. They're just three idiots. They come out. One of them has a mic, and like I don't get it. I really don't get it. You know, like even the theme song is like SCU, like we're from the West. SCU, the best of the best. It's like the dumbest shit ever. It's just like Cero Miedo, Mexican, Cero Miedo, once again, or whatever the fuck their theme song is. Just, come on, man. You can do better than this. You know, give people gimmicks, right? Give people real gimmicks. Explain to me what the gimmick of Inner Circle is. Are they just a group? Is it just five guys that hang out together and they wrestle together? Is that what it is? Or is it a coherent group with an actual message? Like Right to Censor, for example, right? One of the most underrated stables of all time. All these guys started wrestling differently. They started wearing different clothes, right? And they were all united in their aim to censor things, right? Like, people didn't like it, and that was the point. But it made sense, right? And who are they going to wrestle against? The APA motherfuckers who like gambling, drinking, and women, right? It makes perfect sense. It writes itself. Or the Dudley Boys who also like doing those things and like powerbombing broads through tables, right? That's the idea, motherfuckers. Or the Cat. They even feuded with the Cat because she wanted to be naked, and they're like, you can't be naked, right? And once again, Val Venus, Godfather, two characters with gimmicks that were very like rated R gimmicks, right? And they had reformed their ways. They had been brainwashed by Steven Richards, who also was kind of like a goof for a long time. So that's what I'm saying, motherfuckers. AEW needs to figure this shit out because, and to their credit, they have a little bit, right? Like 5 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, none of these things were happening. There was no Adam Page storyline. Dark Order was just a bunch of weirdos with no real like goals or anything like that, right? Now they actually Dark Order, to their credit, they have delineated goals. They're like, we're gonna try to recruit Michael Nakazawa. We're going to try to recruit this guy. We're trying to recruit that guy, right? This is how you build a story. This is how you build a company, you know? But they need to do that with everybody else. Because otherwise, I have no desire whatsoever to see the chairman, what's his face? The chairman, what the fuck's his name, man? Ty Dillinger, whatever his name is now. Sean Spears. So, there you go. That's what I got to say about that. Shout out to Stephen Trudeau again. I think I already said that, but just in case I did, my first. And see you guys later. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit that like. And don't forget to hit the little bell icon while you're at it. Why the fuck not? You know what I'm saying? Stay dirty, motherfuckers.